I could put two words as disciplined management. We took over in 2016. The Andrew Holness administration took over. We made a commitment to the IMF at the time that we would continue to make sure we become fiscally disciplined. Right through that period of time, we moved our debt down from the high, as you might recall, at 147 when we took over, must have been in the 135 or thereabouts, and move it down to where we are today at 77. And going in the direction of 60, we had planned to get there by 2016. The pandemic interrupted. Right. We moved it to 2018, but we might get there before 2018. And all through that, we've gone through the pandemic, spent 100 billion Jamaican dollars we didn't plan to spend, haven't borrowed any money, and we haven't raised taxes in 7 years. So that kind of fiscal discipline, the rating agencies have been watching it, and the best rating we've ever had in 24 years of S&P, we've just had the rating upgrade. And of course, we're not happy with that. We want to continue to make sure that gets to investment grade as quickly as we can.
So what are the industries that are driving this or supporting this growth? I have been going to Jamaica my whole life. We go to Silver Sands and Trelawney, and if I get a good bonus, then I'll spend a couple of days over at Rose Hall. It's a little pricey, but so tourism obviously is I would guess one of the main industries. What else is pushing this? Because Jamaica is not an offshore economy. This isn't somewhere where people go to hide money, or to start crypto businesses.
No, that's not what we do. Yeah. What happened is when tourism took a dip, and somebody who you've had here at Bloomberg many times, Ed Bartlett, found all kinds of innovative ways to help us open back tourism as quickly as we can. So that didn't stay down too long, and we're now back this summer, well past what we were in 2019 before the pandemic. But through the pandemic, we had the BPO, the business processing outsourcing business, the knowledge outsourcing business, and that grew by 20% per year in the last 4 years. So we quickly moved to work from home, made the adjustments because under the BPO arrangement and OECD watching, you have to make sure you follow certain basic rules. We got those fixed with the Minister of Finance, and through myself, I was then in the Ministry of Economic Growth, which is the Prime Minister's ministry, worked it out, got it to work, and it kept on growing, and it keeps on growing. But we also are looking at growing our exports. Because we have had, just like we had a long period of bad debt situation, we've had an even longer period of negative trade balances, and we're now grappling our hands around that as we've done with debt and that's one of my main focus. Why I'm here with 30 businesses to look at new markets and develop new markets, because you cannot be an exporting business and stay in your office.
Right.
So I take them with me. I took them here, took them to Atlanta. I'm going to London from here to make sure we develop the markets that we have and then wider field.
What are some of those markets that you'd like to develop, or some of those products or services that you'd like to develop?
For instance, you know Goya very well. We have something called Aki. Matthew would have had Aki for breakfast in Jamaica.
With my eggs.
Okay, with your eggs. Looks like eggs. So we know, Goya said to one of our importers in Florida recently, we want 20 40-foot containers. They could only give them one. They want something we have callaloo, which is like spinach. They want breadfruit, which is we make into flour, and it's gluten-free, which people want. We want containers of that. So we have markets. While I'm looking for new markets, what I'm looking for as well, the Ministry of Industry, investment is the second part, and commerce. I'm looking for investment to fit those markets. Come in, help us grow our agriculture, process it, and make sure we have the markets for you. Come invest. So that's part of the message I bring as well.
What about cannabis? We talk about the cannabis business here a lot. Obviously, the legalization across, for recreational use, 23 states in the U.S. has grown the market, the legal market, considerably here. Can that be an export from a country that's, in a way, famous for Bob Marley and that sort of product?
We have exported to places like Australia and Germany, but you probably need to get to 38 states, at which point you can change the constitution, because it's a Schedule 1 drug.
Yes.
And until the feds change it, you can't do interstate banking. So you can do all you want in Colorado, but you can't ship it to California. So until that changes, as a Schedule 1 drug, we have to abide by certain international rules that we've signed in treaties. So we can't just export it willy-nilly, and we can't export it to the United States or even use your airspace to export it.
What is the political climate like in Kingston? I mean, we have here a very partisan, very divided political system, which is driving Moody's to threaten a downgrade. We've already had downgrades at Fitch and S&P. So what advice can you give to the U.S. government, post-upgrade, to try and get along and govern correctly?
Why don't I tell you what we've done? We have made sure that we focus on the fiscal part, because I noticed why Moody's threatening to downgrade. The same reason S&P did in 2011. It's from what I've read, it's the fractiousness over the government closing down. Well, we can't say anything about that, and you have the privilege of having the reserve currency in the world. So you're in a very particularly privileged position. But what we have done in Jamaica is, if we didn't get, I remember when the IMF came in 2013, I was in that meeting, called at the University of West Indies by Oliver Clark, who I know you know.
Yes,
from
Silver Sands.
From Silver Sands. Oliver called that meeting. I remember the Governor Bryan went at the time saying, we cannot get our currency and our inflation under check unless the government gets its fiscal house in order. You never hear or know, we've made the Bank of Jamaica independent. You never hear the government talk, the governor of the central bank talking about the fiscal position of the government, because we've put it under control. And until you get that done, then the rating agents will have that discussion. But frankly, your discussion is quite different, because you're the reserve, you hold the reserve currency and the biggest military in the world.